Imagine considering Jesus not only as a spiritual figure but as a revolutionary who defied the social, political, and religious expectations of his time. Was Jesus a revolutionary? Understanding his role in his time and today invites us into a compelling exploration of how his teachings, actions, and ideas fundamentally challenge the status quo. Unlike many traditional leaders, Jesus didn't come with armies or seek power through force. Instead, he introduced ideas that were transformative and sometimes confrontational, about love, equality, forgiveness, and justice. His approach, radical in its peacefulness, was aimed at creating a shift in hearts and minds, a revolution from within that would change society from the ground up. One of the clearest indicators of Jesus' revolutionary stance is his opposition to societal hierarchies and divisions. That in 1st century Judea, society was strictly divided along lines of class, gender, and ethnicity. The religious and social elite maintained control, while marginalized groups were often excluded and oppressed. Jesus defied these norms by associating with tax collectors, prostitutes, and the poor, those who were considered unclean or socially inferior. He healed the sick and reached out to those shunned by society, conveying a message that each person held intrinsic worth regardless of social status. This inclusivity challenged a social system built on exclusion and demonstrated that love and acceptance were more important than adherence to social hierarchy. His actions remain revolutionary even today, encouraging a society where equality and compassion are foundational. His emphasis on a kingdom not of this world further illustrates his revolutionary ideology. While many awaited a political Messiah who would liberate them from Roman rule, Jesus presented a vision of a different kind of kingdom, a kingdom of God defined by justice, mercy, and love rather than political power. By reframing the concept of a kingdom, Jesus challenged the prevailing notions of authority and governance. Instead of calling for an armed revolt, he spoke of a kingdom where the last would be first, where humility would be prized, and where power would be defined by service rather than dominance. This vision was as disruptive to the political authorities as it was to the religious ones, as it questioned the very basis of worldly power and suggested that true influence lay in moral integrity and kindness rather than coercion. Jesus' teachings on forgiveness and non-retaliation were also groundbreaking, especially in a culture where revenge and strict justice were common. His instruction to turn the other cheek and love your enemies went against human instincts and the prevailing codes of justice, which favored retribution. By promoting forgiveness over vengeance, Jesus presented a way of life that valued inner peace over outward displays of strength. This teaching encouraged personal transformation, suggesting that the true revolution starts within, by breaking cycles of anger and violence. His ideas on forgiveness remain revolutionary, challenging even contemporary societies that often prioritize punishment and retaliation over reconciliation and healing. Another revolutionary aspect of Jesus' life was his critique of religious hypocrisy and empty ritualism. He openly challenged the Pharisees and other religious leaders who emphasized strict adherence to the law but lacked compassion and humility. Jesus pointed out that spiritual devotion should be about a genuine relationship with God and compassion for others, not about public displays of piety or rigid rules. His condemnation of hypocrisy in religious institutions was revolutionary in that it called for authenticity and personal integrity rather than compliance for the sake of appearances. Jesus' stance urged individuals to practice faith from the heart, reminding people that spiritual transformation matters more than outward religious performance, a concept that continues to challenge religious structures today. His use of parables and accessible language was another way Jesus defied the norms of his time. While religious leaders often spoke in complex legalistic language, Jesus spoke in parables, simple, relatable stories that illustrated profound spiritual truths. This approach made his teachings accessible to ordinary people, including those who were illiterate or outside the religious elite. Jesus' decision to communicate in this inclusive way democratized spiritual knowledge and empowered everyday people to engage with profound ideas. This style of teaching was revolutionary, as it bypassed traditional religious gatekeepers and allowed anyone willing to listen to understand and apply spiritual principles to their lives. The subversion of traditional concepts of leadership and power is another strikingly radical part of Jesus' message. While the world viewed leadership as a position of dominance, Jesus presented it as an opportunity for service. He washed the feet of his disciples, a task usually reserved for servants, and taught that the greatest among you shall be your servant. By redefining leadership as service, Jesus overturned conventional ideas of authority, suggesting that greatness comes not from being served but from serving others. This revolutionary concept of leadership remains relevant today, challenging leaders across all fields to rethink power dynamics and to see authority as a privilege to help others rather than as a means to elevate oneself. Additionally, Jesus' message about wealth and material possessions was profoundly radical in a culture where wealth was often seen as a sign of God's favor. Jesus taught that it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. By encouraging his followers to give to the poor, to avoid accumulating wealth, and to focus on spiritual rather than material riches, he confronted the prevailing belief that success and morality were linked to prosperity. His message questioned societal values that placed wealth above human relationships and spiritual fulfillment, proposing a vision of society where generosity and compassion would replace greed and materialism. The empowerment of marginalized voices especially women and children, was another revolutionary aspect of Jesus' ministry. In a patriarchal society that limited women's roles, Jesus frequently spoke with women, taught them, and even included them among his close followers. He acknowledged their faith and worth in ways that were unheard of at the time. His respect for women and children sent a powerful message about inclusivity and dignity for all people, regardless of their societal position. This revolutionary inclusiveness invites modern society to continue breaking down barriers that marginalize, encouraging a world where all voices are valued. Jesus' view of love as the highest law encapsulates his revolutionary ethos. By teaching that all the law and the prophets depend on the commands to love God and love one's neighbor, Jesus redefined the foundation of moral and spiritual life. Love, rather than strict adherence to rules or social divisions, became the central principle. This prioritization of love over legalism is deeply transformative, suggesting that real change in individuals and societies begins with compassion and empathy. Jesus' emphasis on love as the ultimate command challenges not only the legalistic approach of his time but continues to urge us today to act from a place of understanding, unity, and peace. Expanding on these revolutionary aspects of Jesus' teachings, we uncover even more dimensions of his message that continue to challenge and inspire. His life and words not only transformed individual hearts but also presented a radical vision for society, one built on justice, compassion, and a deep commitment to human dignity. Jesus' approach remains as relevant now as it was then, encouraging us to look beyond conventional power structures and embrace values that uplift the human spirit. One powerful dimension of his message is his radical approach to human dignity and inherent worth. Jesus saw and treated every person as equally valuable, regardless of their social status, physical health, or background. In a society where certain groups were marginalized, lepers, the disabled, foreigners, and women, Jesus made a point of including them, healing them, and even giving them roles of importance in his ministry. This message was revolutionary, as it redefined what it meant to be human and who deserved respect and compassion. His treatment of people as inherently valuable challenged societal norms that often dehumanized or ignored the marginalized, suggesting instead that dignity and worth are qualities everyone possesses. This principle continues to be a call to honor each person's humanity, irrespective of status or circumstance. His rejection of nationalistic and tribal loyalties is another groundbreaking aspect of his vision. During a time when Israel longed for a Messiah who would restore political power to the Jewish people, Jesus instead presented a message of universal love and peace. He refused to endorse violent revolt against Roman rule, suggesting that his followers focus on a deeper transformation that transcended borders and national identities. In his parable of the Good Samaritan, for example, Jesus highlighted a despised foreigner as the hero, showing that compassion and goodness are not confined to one's own people. By promoting a love that extends beyond tribe or nation, Jesus challenged the instinct for division and conflict based on cultural or national lines. His message continues to resonate in our world, urging us to see beyond divisions and recognize our shared humanity. The elevation of peace and non-violence over force and coercion further illustrates the revolutionary nature of Jesus' approach. In a time when might often determined right, Jesus emphasized peacemaking and non-violent resistance as hallmarks of his teachings. When one of his followers attempted to defend him with a sword, Jesus admonished him, saying, "Put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." This stance challenged the idea that power must be enforced through violence or dominance. Instead, Jesus presented an alternative way, where peace and integrity hold greater strength than any weapon. This radical rejection of violence and his call to love your enemies was transformative, pushing his followers to break the cycle of violence and seek harmony as the foundation for true justice. His emphasis on inner transformation rather than outward conformity was another core element of his message. Jesus often warned against hypocrisy and external displays of righteousness without genuine inner change. His focus on the inner life of each individual was revolutionary, as it suggested that the true essence of a person lies in their heart, not in their adherence to external standards or laws. This inward focus challenged the religious and cultural expectations of the time, where visible compliance with rituals was often mistaken for spiritual integrity. Jesus' emphasis on the heart over appearances encourages us to prioritize authenticity and inner growth, rather than performing acts of faith or virtue solely to be seen by others. This teaching remains a powerful reminder that true transformation begins within, reshaping how we engage with ourselves and the world. The role of humility and the rejection of personal ambition were also central to Jesus' revolutionary message. While many leaders of the time sought power and influence, Jesus taught that the humble would inherit the earth and that greatness came from service, not status. His life was a testament to this principle, as he chose a path of humility and sacrifice rather than one of fame and fortune. Jesus' model challenges societal values that equate success with personal achievement, encouraging us to see fulfillment in selflessness and simplicity. This perspective remains relevant today, inviting us to adopt a posture of humility in our pursuits and relationships, valuing kindness and integrity over personal ambition. Another key aspect is the transformative power of hope and resilience in the face of suffering. Jesus did not promise his followers an easy life but instead prepared them to endure challenges with courage and faith. He taught that suffering could have meaning, that it could lead to growth, and that hope could flourish even in difficult circumstances. This message was revolutionary because it redefined suffering not as a curse but as an opportunity for resilience and inner strength. Jesus' ability to remain hopeful in the face of adversity continues to inspire, showing that the human spirit can rise above trials, emerging with deeper compassion and wisdom. The vision of an open community where all are welcome also distinguishes his approach. Jesus consistently built relationships with people from all walks of life, fostering a sense of unity and belonging that transcended social divisions. He spoke of a community defined not by race, wealth, or status but by shared values of love and mercy. This inclusive community, what he called the kingdom of God, was open to anyone willing to embrace compassion and humility. By doing so, Jesus created a model for a society built on mutual support and acceptance, rather than on exclusion or elitism. His vision remains revolutionary, calling us to build communities where diversity is cherished, where each individual is valued, and where all can find belonging. The call to surrender control and trust in divine guidance encapsulates the depth of his teachings. In a world that often prizes control, certainty, and self-reliance, Jesus taught his followers to trust in something greater than themselves. His life embodied faith in divine purpose, even when faced with uncertainty and danger. By encouraging trust in God rather than in one's own power, Jesus proposed a way of life rooted in faith and surrender. This approach challenges modern ideals of independence and control, inviting us to find peace in letting go and trusting in a purpose beyond our immediate understanding. These elements, human dignity, rejection of tribalism, commitment to peace, inner transformation, humility, resilience, inclusive community, and faith in divine guidance, add layers of meaning to Jesus' revolutionary message. His teachings invite us to build a world that transcends fear, division, and greed, creating a society grounded in compassion, mutual respect, and love. By embodying these values, Jesus showed that true change begins not with force but with the courage to live out a different vision of humanity. His teachings offer insights that not only speak to individuals but also present a foundation for rethinking entire societies. Each dimension of his life invites us to explore what it means to be fully human, to live with integrity, and to pursue a vision of community rooted in love and compassion. One essential aspect of his teachings is the concept of freedom from inner constraints, rather than just external liberation. Jesus spoke frequently about freedom from the things that hold us back internally: fear, hatred, pride, and attachment to materialism. His message suggests that true liberation comes not just from external changes but from inner freedom, a release from the fears and desires that cloud our minds and hearts. This inner freedom is foundational to personal transformation, as it allows individuals to act out of love and kindness rather than fear or selfishness. Jesus' focus on internal freedom encourages us to confront the limitations we place on ourselves and to pursue a life driven by courage, authenticity, and purpose. Another powerful element of his message is his challenge to social injustice and systems of exploitation. While he spoke frequently about forgiveness and love, Jesus was also vocal against oppressive practices, particularly those that burden the poor and marginalized. He condemned the exploitation of the vulnerable and called out religious and economic leaders who took advantage of others for personal gain. His actions in driving the money changers from the temple highlighted his commitment to a faith that stands in opposition to greed and injustice. This stance challenges us to look critically at systems in society that perpetuate inequality, calling for a faith that actively seeks justice and dignity for all. Jesus' commitment to justice suggests that spirituality cannot be separate from social responsibility. Instead, it demands an active role in addressing suffering and inequality. The call to live simply and generously is another dimension of his message that offers a revolutionary perspective on wealth and materialism. While society often equates success with accumulation and status, Jesus invited his followers to embrace simplicity, to live with what they need and to give freely to those in need. By suggesting that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, Jesus emphasized that attachment to material wealth can distract from deeper, more fulfilling pursuits. His life modeled a way of being that finds richness not in possessions but in relationships, kindness, and spiritual growth. This call to simplicity is profoundly relevant in today's consumer-driven culture, inviting us to focus on what truly brings fulfillment and to find freedom in generosity and shared abundance. The emphasis on compassion over conformity is also central to understanding his transformative approach. Jesus often ignored social norms and expectations, especially when those norms prevented acts of compassion. He healed on the Sabbath, spoke with those considered unclean, and broke traditional boundaries to extend kindness to others. This focus on compassion as a guiding principle rather than strict adherence to rules suggests that human need and well-being are of utmost importance. His message encourages us to prioritize empathy and kindness over rigid conformity, teaching that true spiritual growth is not about adhering to rules but about cultivating a heart that responds with understanding and care. The notion of purpose as a calling to serve others, rather than as a personal pursuit, further illustrates the depth of Jesus' teachings. Jesus spoke often of living a life in alignment with God's will, a life focused on serving others rather than seeking self-centered goals. In doing so, he offered a perspective on purpose that challenges the idea of individual ambition. Instead of pursuing success for personal gain, Jesus suggested that fulfillment comes from contributing to the well-being of others, helping to uplift those in need, and working toward a world where love and justice prevail. This redefinition of purpose invites us to rethink our goals and to find meaning not in what we achieve for ourselves but in the impact we have on the lives of others. The pursuit of unity through reconciliation and understanding further exemplifies the depth of Jesus' message. In a society marked by divisions of class, race, and religion, he consistently spoke of the need to forgive, reconcile, and seek understanding with others. His emphasis on unity was not just about tolerance but about actively seeking to restore relationships and bridge divides. By teaching that blessed are the peacemakers, Jesus highlighted the importance of creating a community where differences are acknowledged, respected, and ultimately transcended. His commitment to unity invites us to move beyond the divides that often separate us, working to create a world where peace and reconciliation are core values. Finally, the concept of love as a transforming force underpins all of Jesus' teachings. He placed love at the center of his message, describing it as the highest commandment and the foundation of a meaningful life. But this love was not passive or limited, it was active, unconditional, and universal. Jesus demonstrated that love has the power to break down barriers, heal wounds, and create connections where none existed before. His message encourages a love that is inclusive, extending to friends and strangers, allies and enemies alike. This revolutionary vision of love as the ultimate guiding principle continues to inspire, challenging us to approach every aspect of life with compassion and understanding. These additional aspects, inner freedom, justice, simplicity, compassion over conformity, purposeful service, resilience, unity, and transformative love, create a vision of life that is profoundly holistic and deeply human. Jesus' teachings suggest that true transformation comes not only through personal growth but also through active engagement with the world, creating communities built on mutual respect, kindness, and justice. His message offers a roadmap for a life that transcends self-interest, a life dedicated to the highest values of compassion and purpose. Continuing this exploration of the profound and far-reaching nature of Jesus' teachings, we find even more layers of insight into how his message extends beyond personal spirituality and offers a framework for societal transformation. Each principle he lived and taught invites us to rethink our roles as individuals and as members of a global community, guiding us toward a more compassionate and just world. A key dimension of his message is the redefinition of community as a place of mutual support and shared responsibility. Jesus taught that those who follow his way are part of a body or a family, one that is defined not by blood or nationality but by shared values of love, respect, and commitment to one another. This idea of community was revolutionary in its inclusivity and depth. Rather than seeing each person as isolated or solely responsible for themselves, Jesus' vision of community emphasized interconnectedness, where every person has a role, every individual matters, and each person's well-being is tied to that of others. This model of community challenges modern notions of individualism and invites us to build societies that prioritize collective well-being, where everyone is encouraged and empowered to thrive together. The transformative potential of humility and open-mindedness is another crucial element of his teachings. Jesus consistently encouraged his followers to approach others with a spirit of humility and an openness to learning, seeing each person as valuable and each experience as a lesson. He emphasized that wisdom often comes from unexpected sources, and he welcomed insights from all people, including children and those outside traditional circles of influence. This openness and humility allowed for personal growth and deeper connections with others, fostering a culture of respect and curiosity rather than judgment. His approach invites us to lay aside assumptions and biases, approaching life with an open heart and a willingness to see the world from new perspectives. The call to heal rather than to condemn further illustrates the compassion embedded in his approach to faith. Jesus' actions showed a preference for healing both the physical and emotional wounds of others, rather than judging or condemning them for their struggles. He approached each person with a desire to alleviate suffering and restore wholeness, emphasizing that healing is a priority in any truly just society. This approach challenges attitudes that seek to blame or ostracize those who struggle, instead advocating for a community that uplifts and rehabilitates. Jesus' emphasis on healing suggests that a compassionate society cares for its most vulnerable, offering support and understanding rather than punishment or exclusion. Another profound aspect of his message is the idea of transformative truth-seeking rather than rigid adherence to dogma. Jesus often spoke in parables and encouraged his followers to think critically and seek out the deeper meaning in his words. His teachings weren't simply rules to be followed blindly, they were invitations to engage with the underlying principles and to seek out personal understanding. This approach to spirituality fosters a living, evolving faith, one that grows with each individual's journey. Jesus' emphasis on active truth-seeking rather than passive acceptance is a powerful reminder that spirituality is a dynamic, ongoing process. It challenges us to constantly seek wisdom and understanding, remaining open to growth rather than clinging to unexamined beliefs. The encouragement to embrace vulnerability and empathy also reveals the depth of his understanding of human connection. Jesus was not afraid to show emotion, whether it was compassion, sorrow, or joy. He openly empathized with others, allowing himself to be moved by their pain and struggles. His vulnerability allowed him to connect with others on a profound level, teaching that true strength comes from the ability to relate to and feel with others. This approach is revolutionary in a world that often views vulnerability as weakness. Jesus' example teaches us that empathy and openness to others' emotions create bonds of trust and mutual support, fostering a compassionate society where people care deeply about one another's well-being. The promotion of peace through active understanding rather than avoidance is another transformative aspect of his teachings. Jesus did not shy away from addressing difficult topics or confronting injustices, but he always approached them with the goal of creating understanding and harmony. His way of promoting peace was active and engaged, seeking reconciliation rather than simply avoiding conflict. This approach suggests that peace is not merely the absence of tension but the presence of justice and mutual understanding. By encouraging dialogue and connection even in challenging situations, Jesus' message offers a model for building a peaceful society that is grounded in empathy, respect, and open communication. The recognition of joy as a form of spiritual resilience is a unique dimension of his message that redefines how we view happiness. Jesus taught that joy is not dependent on external circumstances but can be a source of strength that carries individuals through difficult times. This joy was often expressed in gratitude, celebration, and the appreciation of life's simple pleasures. His message of joy as resilience reminds us that spirituality can offer a deep-seated contentment that transcends challenges, empowering people to face life's difficulties with hope and positivity. This perspective encourages us to cultivate an inner joy that is resilient, that does not depend on fleeting moments, but that stems from a profound connection with others and with a sense of purpose. Finally, the insistence on hope as an anchor for a better future encapsulates the essence of his message. Jesus continuously spoke of a coming kingdom where love, justice, and peace would prevail, urging his followers to act in ways that bring that vision closer. This idea of hope is not passive or abstract, it's a call to actively work toward a transformed world. His message of hope challenges cynicism and apathy, suggesting that every act of kindness, every pursuit of justice, and every effort toward understanding brings us closer to a society built on compassion. Jesus' insistence on hope as a guiding principle inspires us to see each day as an opportunity to make a positive impact, fostering a belief in the possibility of a more harmonious and loving world. These layers, mutual support and community, humility, healing over condemnation, truth-seeking, vulnerability, active peace, resilient joy, and transformative hope, paint a vivid picture of a world shaped by the highest ideals of compassion, wisdom, and justice. Jesus' teachings call each of us to be part of this vision, to live with purpose, and to build relationships that honor the dignity of every individual. If this analysis has resonated with you, I invite you to join me in the next video as we continue to explore how these principles can reshape our lives and communities, offering us a pathway toward a world that truly reflects the values of love, integrity, and shared humanity. Together, we will dive deeper into the insights that can help us live more fully and with a greater sense of connection, justice, and compassion.